Following modest success in the 2022 season, Ferrari has spent nearly a year of Formula One's new regulations being adamant that it didn't need to modify its design direction in order to catch Red Bull. Ferrari team boss Frederic Vasseur always talked about unlocking the untapped potential of its design concept. But at Barcelona, Ferrari's major upgrades appeared a lot like a significant change in direction, with the adaptation of a much more downwashing sidepods design. Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc admitted there will be no big miracles and no massive change from what is likely to be the start of a gradual change of development direction. But by Sunday night, there seemed to be no change at all, with Ferrari's competitive picture looking not very different from the first 6 races of the season. So how big were the changes, and are Ferrari in trouble after making those upgrades? Ferrari's long-awaited update package, with an emphasis on the aesthetically distinctive sidepods as well as a few minor elements surrounding the rear-view mirror and floor edge detail modifications, landed in Barcelona. Ferrari brought a new rear wing to Barcelona, but the team called it to be circuit-specific, so we won't be covering about that in today's video. To be perfectly honest, the modification to the mirror detail is minuscule and unimportant. In an effort to direct more flow outwards, Ferrari altered the end of the mirror pod, and the top shroud is now shorter. The key design change was made to the sidepods, as Ferrari has just thrown that all out of the window and gone for a more Red Bull swept-down sidepod surface as it moves rearwards. When Ferrari launched the F1-75, it featured a distinctive bathtub design in the top surface. Ferrari continued with that style this year with the SF23. But the upgrades at the Spanish Grand Prix marks the first change in development direction taken by the Scuderia. The shape is still there, but a short downwash ramp has been made by removing part of the sidepod's back. This directs airflow across the top of the diffuser exit and down into the Coke bottle area. The older design concentrated on maintaining airflow over the sidepods so that it could be washed into the center of the car, energizing the beam wing and having some effect on the diffuser. Some of that airflow will be given up to the beam wing in exchange for the improved sidepod's increased rear airflow above the diffuser exit. The sidepod's top surface has also modified. Along the top of the sidepod, a smaller channel was made by reprofiled the outside edge. Just below the S-duct outlet is a second cooling exit feeding the channel on top of the sidepods. The undercut region, which includes the region around the lower side impact system, has also undergone alterations. Ferrari is now able to turn the airflow in the undercut area more gradually because to the altered top surface shape. The airflow around the floor edges should also be improved by this better flow along the front corner of the sidepod. Ferrari has improved the level of detail here. The front of the floor's turned-up area has a more aggressive design, aids in the creation of strong vortices at the floor's edge to help seal them off. There is now a small gap further back that enables airflow from this outer edge to be drawn into the tire squirt. Ferrari has often disputed the notion that it needs to make significant adjustments to its car concept in order to compete with Red Bull. At the Australian Grand Prix, Carlos Sainz made the claim that the Red Bull project has a far more potential for advancement than the Ferrari project. It's just how fast the Red Bull has turned out to be this year, and how it has struck us by surprise. Not only us, I think Mercedes and Aston Martin would never expect to have the gap they do. It's realistic to say Red Bull has achieved a level of performance that it's very difficult to achieve just by making an evolution of our car. They have something wider, they have something deeper conceptually than all of us. But Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur backed the untapped potential of the Ferrari design, speaking ahead of the Spanish Grand Prix weekend. Vasseur said that the team had no interest in starting from scratch in a different direction, even if the Barcelona package didn't perform well. As long as I'm convinced that we can improve on the current car, it would be a mistake during the season to change completely the target. He claimed that since such a change wouldn't be ready until October, the timeline for what he called an entirely different King Pet would be too long. The idea that a revised concept would be superior than what Ferrari already had didn't convince Fred Vasseur either. It is obvious that the updated SF23 has the same chassis and is not a fully new design. It is valid to view it as a conceptual shift, one that brings Ferrari a little bit closer to the Red Bull aerodynamic concept. Ferrari has acknowledged that the design and wind tunnel work for this project began a few months ago when the vehicles first emerged for pre-season testing. When questioned why the team appeared to have abruptly abandoned its original design concept, senior Ferrari engineer Jacques Leclerc was refreshingly honest with his reasoning. He added Ferrari had maintained its conviction that its distinctive concept was the best course of action. But once it had the opportunity to assess a version more in line with Red Bull's, it has been installed on the car because it was much more effective, at least in the wind tunnel. Although the underfloor is the main source of downforce, every bodywork element cooperates with the underfloor, and Jacques Leclerc stressed the importance of this. We are not copying anyone per se, we're looking at what they did, we're going back to our tunnel and trying to find out if that works. What you see on the sidepod is a secondary driver. What you're doing with the floor is what dictates where the downforce is coming from. You might debate the exact definition of a concept change, but this represents a significant change in design for Ferrari. Vasseur acknowledged that this update was partially implemented to set a new development direction once the car had broken cover at Barcelona. It's not a new car, we are making a step forward, we are opening some doors for the development in the future, it's not a complete change. The opportunity to open a new door for development in the future, and it was quite promising, it meant that we committed on this way. Let's see what the next weeks will bring to us. I think it was a tough decision, but it was a decision. It's not a new car, we are making a step forward, we are opening some doors for the development in the future, it's not a complete change. The opportunity to open a new door for development in the future, and it was quite promising, it meant that we committed on this way. Let's see what the next weeks will bring to us. I think it was a tough decision, but it was a decision. Ferrari is now adopting a marginally different philosophy. Vasseur also stated that there would be other updates in the upcoming races as well as potential new possibilities to change directions, so the team anticipates long-term performance gains. In the wind tunnel, work is currently being done on the Ferrari 2024. Given the current trend, there is a good likelihood that this will lead Ferrari farther down Red Bull's path, which will likely be a more substantial progression of this course. The Spanish Grand Prix, however, made it clear that Ferrari has a long way to go before it fully comprehends what it is doing incorrectly right now. The upgrade package, according to Frederic Vasseur, was intended to have an immediate effect as well as create a new development direction for the Scuderia in order to pursue future benefits. Although there will be more downforce, the reason Ferrari anticipated that its car would quickly improve is not specifically aerodynamic. Ferrari acknowledged that the floor modifications specifically had a benefit for loads, but Ferrari's weekend at Spain did not represent what they imagined to see. Leclerc was unexpectedly eliminated from qualifying due to an unsolved issue that Ferrari has to look into. By qualifying second, Carlos Sainz was able to have a superior performance and finish as Red Bull's closest rival over one lap. However, he lagged behind by over half a second, and I believe Hamilton could have outperformed Sainz's time, except for the error he made on his final run in Q3. In the race, things didn't seem to get any better as Sainz dropped from the front row to fifth, trailing the Mercedes drivers and a regaining Red Bull. Given that he believed this was always going to be one of Ferrari's weaker circuits, Sainz found it challenging to determine whether the changes made a difference to racing trim performance. It was mainly down to how hard Ferrari is on its tires over a race stint. So rather than pushing to get the maximum pace out of the new spec parts in a race situation, Sainz's race was all about tire management. He did his best to at least beat both Aston Martins. Much more concerning for the Scuderia was how much stronger Mercedes looked in the battle behind Red Bull. Especially the Barcelona track is supposedly known to be the ultimate test of a car's potential. Carlos Sainz kept his assessment of the situation brief, but Vasseur was much more direct about the improvements and pace of the Ferrari. Although the Ferrari team boss claimed they had improved in terms of potential, that was about as encouraging as it got. He added that the team must concentrate exclusively on bridging the enormous performance gaps between qualifying and the race if it is to achieve positive results. We still have a huge delta in performance quality to race. It's where we have to put all the focus if we want good results. The global picture is the same. We are there in quali and we are not there in the race. We are inconsistent. Vasseur disagreed with Carlos' assertion that tire wear hides Ferrari's true speed. According to Vasseur, the car is still inconsistent. From lap 1 in Spain, Leclerc was griping about the balance of his vehicle. Even while he thought there had been progress, he was aware that there had been far too little. The limitations were completely different to qualifying, so we were expecting this. But for some reason, we never seem to get into the right window of the tire, and when we do, it is a bit of a surprise to us. There is a lot of work we need to do. The temperature came, but also the graining came more than the temperature, so it was just understeering like crazy. Even while Ferrari's potential is growing, Leclerc cautioned that Mercedes is not dozing off after putting together a promising second weekend with a heavily improved car. Despite having only one podium finish this year, Ferrari is this year's second fastest team overall over a single lap. The SF23's potential was visible during qualifying, but it appears that the car's competitiveness across a lap versus a race stint depends on how dramatically the balance changes from corner to turn. The Ferrari is incredibly peaky. It is very readily thrown out of the window where it functions best. With gripping soft tires in qualifying, this is concealed. The Ferrari car seems to be quite wind sensitive, but as soon as the variables change, Ferrari's car loses a lot of downforce. This either catches the driver off guard while they push too hard or prompts them to drive conservatively to avoid that happening. As we've seen, Ferrari's new direction is far from over at this moment. After holding out hope for so long, supporting its original design would pay off. This marks the beginning of a slow and very important conceptual transition for the Scuderia. But maybe, as Martin Brundle said at Barcelona, the best way to beat Red Bull would be to recruit Adrian Newey perhaps. But what do you guys think? How far will Ferrari be able to stray from its original concept? Will this change in strategy significantly affect its chances for 2023 and beyond? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section down below. We'd love to discuss it with you. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2023 Formula 1 season.